Hi, I'm William Earnhardt. I'm a Bible worker in the Florida area. And the Homosassa Church, the Homosassa Seventh-day Adventist Church, is one of the churches that I preach regularly in. And lately, for the last few months, we've been meeting in the afternoons. And last Sabbath, yesterday, I had breakfast and then went up to preach and forgot to have lunch. And I'm like thinking, what am I going to do now? I've got Bible studies after church, so it's going to be late when I get home. I prefer not to eat out on the Sabbath just because the commandment reminds us not to have people waiting on us. And in Nehemiah, it talks about not buying and selling on the Sabbath. So I prefer not to do that. So anyway, I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I was hoping mostly that I just wouldn't get hungry. But it just so happened that after church, as I was giving a Bible study, one of the people in my Bible study group had given me some fruit that they had. From time to time, they'll bring fruit. And so I wasn't expecting that. But I thought, wow, God took care of that for me. I'd forgotten to have lunch, and then these people bring me fruit. And so that was plenty to tide me over until I got home later. But that just reminded me how many times God provides for us, even when we don't see it coming, even when we don't expect it. And that reminds me here in Mark chapter 16, at the resurrection. It says here, well, I'll start here with verse 1. Now, when the Sabbath was past, Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James, and Salome brought spices that they might come and anoint him. Verse 2. Very early in the morning on the first day of the week, they came to the tomb when the sun had risen. Verse 3. When they said among themselves, who will roll away the stone from the door of the tomb for us? So they're on their way to the tomb and they're realizing, well, we can't roll this stone away. We're not going to be able to move that. What are we going to do? Well, turns out, just like in my case yesterday, God already had it taken care of, because it says here in verse 4, but when they looked up, they saw that the stone had been rolled away. And it says, for it was very large. But God already moved the stone before they even got there. And I've seen that so many times in my life where I see trouble up ahead and I worry about it. But then so many times, just like yesterday, by the time I get there, I find many times God has already removed the problem. He's already provided the solution. He's already taken care of it. God is constantly opening doors, not just at the tomb, but he's constantly rolling stones out of our pathway. He's constantly opening doors for us. I recently was reading a story here in Acts chapter 12, where Peter was put into prison for preaching the gospel. And since James had just been beheaded, it didn't look very well for him. But let me read just a little bit here from Acts chapter 12, beginning with verse 5. It says, Peter was therefore kept in prison, but constant prayer was offered to God for him by the church. That constant prayer by the church is so important. Verse 6. And when Herod was about to bring him out that night, Peter was sleeping, bound with two chains between two soldiers, and the guards before the door were keeping the prison. Verse 7. Now behold, an angel of the Lord stood by him, and a light shone in the prison, and he struck Peter on the side and raised him up, saying, Arise quickly. And his chains fell off his hands. Just like the stone was rolled away, the chains just fell off his hands. Then the angel said to him, Gird yourself and tie on your sandals. And so he did. And he said to him, Put on your garment and follow me. Verse 9, so he went out and followed him, and did not know what was done by the angel was real, but thought he was seeing a vision. Verse 10, when they were past the first and the second guard post, they came to the iron gate that leads to the city, which opened to them of its own accord. So here the gate is just being opened again. God is removing these problems right in Peter's pathway. And it says here in verse 11, and when Peter came to himself, he said, now I know for certain that the Lord has sent his angel and has delivered me from the hand of Herod and from all the expectations of the Jewish people. And so, again, we see time and time again, God is opening doors for us that we can't open for ourselves. This is a God thing. And it reminds me, lastly, here in a letter to the Philadelphia church in Revelation chapter 3. Jesus says here in verse 7, I'll read verses 7 and 8. And to the angel of the church in Philadelphia write, these things says he who is holy, he who is true. He who has the key of David, he who opens and no one shuts, and shuts and no one opens. Verse 8, I know your works. See, I've set before you an open door, and no one can shut it. For you have a little strength, have kept my word, and have not denied my name. So here God is presenting for us in heaven an open door that no man can shut. And, I've often had to tell myself that when I see an opportunity and I see that door of opportunity close on me, I have to realize that opportunity never came from God. I have to realize that if someone shuts the door of opportunity on me, that means Jesus never opened it. Because if Jesus had opened that door for me, no one would be able to shut it. Jesus opens doors for us that no one else can shut. And what I see here too is heaven's door is wide open. Some people think that the problem with that makes salvation so hard is that it's hard to get into heaven. No, heaven's doors are wide open. You know what the problem is? We see that in Revelation 3, the message to the Laodicean church, in verse 20. Jesus says, behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in to him and dine with him and he with me. See, heaven's door is wide open and nobody can shut it. The issue as to whether we get to heaven or not is about the door to our heart. And Jesus says that door's closed. Heaven's doors are wide open. It's our heart's door that's closed. And Jesus says, I knock at the door. If anybody will open that door for me, I will come into them. And so that's a beautiful promise. Friends, heaven's doors are wide open. The gates opened for Peter. The chains fell off. And at the resurrection, the stone was rolled away. Friends, God is clearing a path for you to receive the gospel, for you to be in heaven, for you to have victory after victory. If a door of opportunity closes on you, you can be sure of this: Jesus never opened the door. He is opening doors for you that no one else can close. He's rolling stones away out of your path that you cannot roll away yourself. Open your heart's door. Let Jesus in. Let him remove those stones that are in your path. Help him. Let him help you remove those chains in your life and to open those gates and to open those doors that enter into everlasting life. God bless you.